Thank you, Paula. In addition, one of the features that Yoodli has is the ability to do analysis on a Toastmasters meeting and be the counter if you like. So one of the things we like to do is start that recording, if you don't mind. I think Nejat's going, if you don't mind, Nejat, to have that Yoodli bot. You're going to see an additional person or additional entity join our Yoodli, our Zoom call called Yoodli bot. 1 second here, got some folks joining. And welcome, Gabby. Welcome, Karen. And welcome, Gina. One of the things I asked, if you don't mind to turn on your video camera, but just note that we are videotaping this for District 29, if you don't mind. And one of the things you'll see joining us is Nejat Yoodli. There's Karen. And Gabby, good to see you again, all the way from Korea. And there's Christy. Okay. So one of the things that
my Yoodli is in.
Yes, your Yoodli is in. And one of the things that you'll see in the chat is an announcement about Yoodli is being has arrived. So is here. And welcome, Crystal. So again, for folks that just joined us, this is going to be a very informal meeting. Nejat and I are going to demonstrate some of the features about Yoodli and how to use it. And feel free to ask questions as you think of. Okay. The other thing that I'm going to show is the biggest thing that actually, before we do that, Nejat, is there anything else that I missed?
Nope. I think it'd be great to know though, how many of you have already used Yoodli before? Have you tried it?
I see Karen going.
Okay, so if you have, raise your hand. I can either raise your hand if your video is on or use the reactions button to let us know. So I only see a few. Okay, great. So then I think this is helpful for us to just go into what it is and details because you haven't. I think at the end of this meeting, I think you all want to try it, but we'll see.
Yes, yes. Okay, so what I'm going to do is share my screen and show you how to access Yoodli to begin with. And I'm going to share my screen like this and bring that down. And actually, figure out where the controls and then go to Yoodli. Okay, so one of the things on how to get to Yoodli, there's two ways, but I want to show you the way that I'm going to log off first here. And if you go to app.yoodli.ai, and we'll have a handout for you, so don't worry about you don't have to write anything down. This is the version that I use most. And I think Nejat does too. So you sign in, or you sign up. The one thing to note is that Yoodli is free; doesn't cost you a thing. So so just register and then you sign in. So I sign in to okay. And let's see. See if I remember what my password is. That's probably wasn't it. And there we go. Okay, so I signed into Yoodli. The biggest help that Yoodli does is that it will record your speech, but you have to give your speech, and you're going to use Yoodli as your personal speech coach. And it's going to provide you lots of information that you'll see in a few minutes. You can record it with your video camera on or video camera off. So in this case, for this demonstration, I'm going to start the beginning of a unrehearsed speech, probably filled with lots of ums and ahs and things like that. But I wanted to show you what it does. So what I'm going to do is record my speech. So I'm going to record my speech here. You'll see the countdown. My name is Edmond Joe. I have been afflicted with the syndrome all my life. The good news is it doesn't hurt. It's not going to kill me. And don't you worry, I am not contagious. The doctor told me that I suffer from something that's called the my last name is typical first name syndrome. It is not easy to live life with that last name. Growing up in Texas, I never knew that Joe was a typical first name until first grade. My teacher, Mrs. Park, handed each student a 3x5 card with some very specific instructions to write your last name first and your first name last. She gave us all those cards in my best first grade handwriting. I did exactly that. I wrote my last name first and my first name last. And I proudly handed it back to Mrs. Park. A few minutes later, Mrs. Park looked at us and scowled at us and said, "Joe Edmond, please come up to the front of the class." Oh, wow, there's a Joe Edmond and an Edmond Joe in the same class. I looked to my left to find Joe. He didn't stand up. I looked to my right to find Joe. This guy's a troublemaker. Little did I know that at the tender age of 6, that I would be giving my very first icebreaker speech. But it didn't end there. It didn't end in elementary school or middle school or high school. It followed me through college and through adulthood. And through all those years, I've heard all those nicknames. Well, you know what I'm talking about. I've been called regular Joe, average Joe, GI Joe, Cup of Joe. I've even been called Sloppy Joe. But that is life. That is my last name. As I got older, got married, my family of 2 became a family of 3. And we realized that there is no good first name, last name that goes well with that last name of Joe. We couldn't name our daughter Mary Joe or Betty Joe. We couldn't name a son Bobby Joe. We almost named our son William Robert Joe, but then my doctor looked at me straight in the eye and said, "Did you know that he'd be known as Billy Bob Joe for the rest of his life?" In reality, my grandfather came to the United States from China. And in China, my last name is pronounced Zhao, and it's spelled this way. The very first thing he had to do was change that Chinese character to something that can be written in English. And so he had various choices. He could have chosen CHOW, CHOU, JOW, but he picked JOE. He picked JOE for 3 very simple reasons. 1, it sounded like the Chinese pronunciation of Joe. Secondly, it was short, 3 letters. For someone who didn't speak in English, a short last name was a good last name. And last but not least, he picked Joe, J-O-E, because he knew it'd be recognized by all Americans. So there you have it, fellow Toastmasters and guests. My last name is Joe, and I've had it all my life. Okay, so my speech wasn't 5 to 7 minutes, but one of the things it did do was it recorded the time. And what you see here is that it's transcribed everything that I said into letters that you can read. And one of the things it will do is it will show the video of my speech. And if I wanted to try, I'm going to stop sharing real quick to re-enable sharing with the audio enabled. So stand by. Okay, here we go. And
My name is Edmond Joe.
oh wow.
I have been afflicted with the syndrome all my life.
Okay, so that's the one feature, is that it takes your voice and transcribes it so that you can read it. Now, what does Yoodli do? One of the things that it does is that it will do analytics, and it will find filler words. So in this case, I had only 2 filler words that were And if I click on here, it'll show me where in my speech I had So let's try it.
And said, did you know that he'd be known as Billy Bob Joe for the rest of his life?
Okay, so it was, in this case, it wasn't intended to be a filler word, but it caught it as a filler word.
Nicknames. Well, you know what I'm talking about.
Okay, so in this case is another. So you see the highlighted words of here, and sorry I didn't intentionally put in some other ums and ahs for it to show up, but I think everyone here gets the idea. The other thing it does, it looks for any non-inclusive words, and so in this particular one I didn't have any, but if I use non-inclusive words or any words that would be offensive to what Yoodli believes to be offensive to a general or crowd, they will identify it. And if there are any repetition, so I said he picked J-O-E, he picked, so here we go.
J-O-W, but he picked J-O-E. He picked J-O-E for 3 very simple reasons.
Okay, so here's the case of words that were repeated. It also provides analysis of top keywords. So it found out that I had used the word name 19 times, the word first 11 times, the letter J 4 times, the word last 14 times, and so on and so forth. And also identified any weak words in my 4-minute speech. Very right, exactly so, and well. One of the things I think that, unfortunately, this one only didn't record the video, but I think the other one will, the one that Yoodli bot will. But it will, as you know, a speech has 2 parts to it. It has content and delivery. And when you are recording with video, it will analyze your content, provide you with a repetition analysis of what words were repeated, what were your filler words, what words were non-inclusive or may be offensive to others, any keywords that I, in this case, I had used, or any weak words. So that part is the content. The other part is the delivery. And for delivery, for just the verbal part, it will tell you how fast was I talking, and when was I talking fast, and when was I not talking very quickly at all. And you see this modulation of my voice as it gets faster and slower and faster and slower and faster and slower. It will also identify the times that I paused and for how long I paused. So if I click on here, you'll hear a 3-second pause.
This guy's a troublemaker. Little did I know that.
Okay, so there's 3 seconds of pauses. So it's up to you when you see this, and if you're practicing on your speech, to know whether or not, well, was 3 seconds too long, 3.35 seconds too long, or maybe it was just right. But what it's doing is it's identifying those specific spots in your speech where it has a pause, and for what that duration is. if by chance you had recorded with the video on, it will also identify how well were you centered in the Zoom or in the video, how centered was your face centered, as well as where and when did you smile. So it has that delivery aspect of analysis of what the camera can see to report back to you some of the analytics that it has. So in this case, it was my speech for 4 minutes. Nejat, did I miss anything?
I think you covered it very well, and I'll share my screen. So as you guys see, you can either record this speech in Yoodli fresh, like you can start recording, or the other option is you can actually upload a video if you already have a recorded speech that you would like to be evaluated. So I'm going to share my screen and just show you what I did personally. And I recorded, let's see, let's go to the library. So this was a video that I already had. And it wasn't even a speech. It was something that I wrote for my work-related things to and I have it here. So as you can see, it's a video. It like, let me put this down. Like Edmond mentioned here, it tells you what went well. So repetition, just 1%, and it even gives you a percentage saying if it's less than 1%, it's okay. And then filler words, it says you have one like, one, less than 1%. One thing is you have resources also here to look at, meaning how to avoid filler words. So if I click here, it will probably show me a video as to what is a good percentage of filler words or not. Inclusive words, top keywords, what could have gone better, weak words. I had many weak words, as you can see here. But in addition to what Edmond mentioned here, the other thing that I really like is actually the feedback that it gives you. Let's see. All right, I think I did something when I prevented it earlier. Oops. I might have prevented this pop-up. Let's see. So for this video, for example, you can see here in the delivery aspect, it's telling me your pace, comments, and then here it tells me that I had 44% eye contact, which means that I was looking on the screen to the audience. Centering, it's telling me that I'm off-centered, that I could have been in the middle of the screen, which is really helpful. And then pauses, which Edmond showed. One thing that I'm not seeing here for some reason now, and I'll check, but what it does, it actually gives you feedback as to the summary of what your speech was about. And then it will tell you, it will ask you questions. And let me go here, podcast. And this was me prepping for my podcast. So I don't know how, let's see. Okay. All right, so let's say I gave the speech and I want feedback, and I'll email this to Edmond, and I can share it with anyone. And when I do that, you're able to give me time-stamped feedback. So let's say, nice job here. Great leaders understand. So as you can see here, if I click here, it says suggested rephrasing. It's actually asking me to rephrase what I said and change it to great leaders understand the importance of looking within and growing themselves. And so here are the feedback. And this is, by the way, AI generated, so Yoodli generated. But at the same time, I can share it with my friends or my coach or anyone at Toastmasters and get feedback from them. So evaluation, and they can have time-stamped feedback here for me. So as you can see here, did you know that you started 4 sentences with and? It's just telling me you're always starting with and. It's giving me feedback as to how I can be better. Here, the feedback is reading. You use the potentially weak phrase, really gonna 3 times, which is really good for awareness. And then I'll be able to work on that. So that's the other thing that it does. But the other cool thing that Yoodli does is there is something called Yoodli for games here. And instead of showing you, I actually want you to participate. Consider this like a table topics. And so what I'm going to do is there any volunteer here that's willing to talk for 1 to 2 minutes? And the topic is going to be revealed to you when I share. Anyone? I don't see participants, by the way. Edmond, help me if someone has raised their hand. If they,
I'll try it.
Helen,
Go ahead.
Kelly,
Okay.
was that Helen? Who was that?
that was Helen.
Okay, Helen, go.
Yes.
All right. So Helen, here's what I'm gonna do. You're gonna try, I'm gonna create this, start playing. And basically what you're gonna do is, the goal is to talk without any filler words. And so I'm gonna mute myself. Please unmute yourself. And when I press on start playing, it's gonna give you the prompt, okay?
Okay. Lately, I have been listening to the oldies. I've been enjoying movie soundtracks. And when I say oldies, I mean oldies. From the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. I like music. I took 15 years of piano lessons and discovered from that I really have no talent for performing music, but I do enjoy listening to it. I'm a great consumer of music. I have many different kinds of music that I listen to, not just hard rock, not just ballads. And I do listen to some classical music because that was the soundtrack of my childhood. It's what my father and mother both liked. So it's what I heard on the radio. When I went to other people's houses, I heard people like Patti Page and other popular singers, Perry Como. But
Thank you so much, Helen. So unlike the table topics at a meeting where someone would actually show the red, this one is just 1 minute and it ends immediately. But
okay.
Congratulations, you had 0. Big round of applause for Helen.
Big round of applause for Helen.
Congratulations, 0 filler words. And that's amazing. Again, it's not surprising because they're with Toastmasters, but it's not the case always. Who wants to try again this one before we go to the next?
I think Jerry, did you speak up earlier?
Jerry, was it you?
Oh,
Karen.
Karen.
Oh, Karen. Yeah.
All right, Karen.
All right, Karen, I'm gonna click on play again, and then when I start playing, go for it.
How do I motivate people? I motivate people by using humor. I find that humor can make a serious situation a little tolerable. I like energy. People tell me I have a lot of energy, and so I try to put a lot of energy into my speeches. I kind of compare what people are doing in other fields compared to what I'm doing. And I just try to be a good example to people. I just try to be happy and try to have a positive attitude. And I think if everyone did that, then this world will be a much better place to live. Thank you.
Thank you again, Karen. The same for you, 0 filler words. So that's amazing. Again, big round of applause for Karen, please. All right. And
So-
so that's,
So Najat, let me try with some injected ums, and that way people can see
yeah.
what it looks like.
All right. Let's, well,
May
let me
I
see this.
ask? I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
this
Go
is
ahead,
Yes,
Christy.
Kristen. Christy, go for it.
Yeah, I have a quick question. What does the red zero represent?
So this one, the game that we're playing right now is a game to help you improve with your filler words. And so what it's counting is how many filler words you have.
Okay, so I guess because I saw two zeros, one was blue and red, I was just trying to figure out
I-
what was the difference between the
I
two.
think
The goal and the how many you had, I think. Edmund,
well, let's find out. Let's play it.
okay.
Okay,
Do
okay.
you want to try or
Yeah, I'll
should
try.
Edmund go? Okay, Edmund, go for it.
Share your thriftiest life hack. Well, that's a hard question. I'm not really sure what my thriftiest life hack is. And that's a really hard question. Ugh. Well, one of the things that I can think of as a thriftiest life hack could be to ask your sibling to buy you a new phone. And I know the phones are really expensive, and I don't know if the sibling buys it, that's quite the hack for me. And that's what I think is the thriftiest life hack. Back to you, Najat.
Thank you so much, Edmund. Let's see. Oh, wow. Hold on.
Something didn't look right.
Yeah. Let's
It
see.
goes a
Well,
zero.
let's see, because this should not be zero. Yes. Actually, let me just see, share my results, and in case, yeah, zero. Okay.
Well, maybe it was one of those bugs that
He
All
did
right,
use
let's.
the uhs and ums.
I had
Yeah,
lots of them.
no, he had a lot. He had a lot of them, so that should count. Let's see. All right, Edmund, can you try it one more time?
Oh, let's add instead of ums and ahs, let's also add so and the word and then.
Yeah, we can add, you know,
Just
basically.
Yeah, basic. Just add those words.
Yeah, but you had the other, so.
Yeah, I thought so too. Unless it was my Texas accent that. I wonder.
Let's start, and we're gonna do just 1 minute.
I wonder if it's catching. I wonder if it's not catching from my
Well,
voice.
we can replay. So let's start it. I'm gonna do just 30 seconds.
Yeah.
There you go. Oops. Edmund, I
Oh, it's for me.
realized. So yeah, go for it.
Okay, if I could talk with anyone dead or alive, who would it be? Now, it's very interesting that Helen spoke about the music that she loves to listen to. And one of the musicians that I would love to talk with is Paul McCartney. Why Paul McCartney? Well, basically, it's because he had so many songs that were big hits and it stood the test of time. And that is why I think that basically that I would like to talk with Paul McCartney. Now, other people may say Eric Clapton, other may say Jimmy Buffett, other people may say Adele, other people may say Lady Gaga. But for me, talking with Paul McCartney would be high on my list because I would want to see what was basically in his mind when he wrote his songs. Back to you, Najat.
There you go. So now we
Yeah.
have 55 So this is,
That's
let's
better.
see.
That's better.
No,
now.
so this is, oh, hold on. I'm gonna share the feedback because it's not counting the number of and ums. I just played no filler words on Yoodli and scored 55 points, meaning how long can you speak for without using a filler word? So let's. All right, so let's try the other ones. Let's try the other ones because I want people to also practice this. So this is spin a yard, and let me put it here, and then we'll come back to the results for the other one. Who wants to go for this one?
Well,
It's almost like the table topic.
Explain what that is.
And so this is, you're gonna get a prompt, and let me, actually, let's, here.
We're not able to hear it, Nejat. Nejat, the audio is not coming through.
And so you're gonna have a prompt here, and then you're gonna have words, and the goal is to incorporate those words into the statements that you're making. I see, was it Jay who raised, did you raise your hand?
Yes.
Yes, do you wanna go next, or did you have a
Sure.
question? Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna mute myself and then start playing. You're gonna get the prompt from here.
I, in fact, do have a fun trip planned. At some point, I will be going to Disney World. But before that, my godson will have the opportunity to see this country because he will have a free pass to visit the national parks throughout this country. That trip is still in the planning process. I still need to save up money for it. I really hope we don't encounter any snakes, but we might see some frogs and other things out in nature as we travel to these different state parks. And when it's finished, then it's sure to be a fun trip. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Jay. So it didn't catch the snake and money. I know you
Well,
did
I
include that
think-
there, and I'm thinking, go ahead,
Nejat,
Edmond.
that Yoodli is not catching any of the audio from the participants. That's
Let's
my
see.
guess.
Yeah, you're right.
that's why.
But it's interesting because we did try this and it did catch it. So
Right.
you're right. If I did it myself here, it would. But I think the point is you're able to go to Yoodli on your own, and when you record it for yourself, it would hear it. But now you're right. I think what is happening is, let's see. For the audio aspect, it might be, and I wish there was a way. Default AirPod, let's see. Oh, maybe I'm gonna try this one. Let me. All right, Edmond,
If I had the power, what would I change? First one, I would have loss of something. And with the garden, so it's not catching any of the things that
It's not
we're
catching.
saying here.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let me say garden loss. Okay, so see, it's catching mine. All right, so now we get it. It's just not catching your audio is not properly coming to Yoodli here, to my Yoodli. But I'm sure if you try it on your own, it will show, because I can say tripod, Canon, snake, and it's gonna catch it. Yeah. All right, guys, we figured it out. So it does work. It just is not syncing with my audio for some reason. And it's interesting because when you and I tried it the other day, but let me see.
Right.
All right, I'm gonna try. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Let's see. Can you hear me, Edmond?
Yes.
So, yeah. All right, so I guess what we can do is, let me show you the third one, even though it's not going to be as fun as if it was capturing it, but I do want to show you what it is. And can someone try for this one? And I know it's not going to record it, but at least just so you know.
Najat, or
Mhm.
Najat, why don't you try, because it'll record you.
Sure, okay. Let me. A granola bar is like eating cotton candy because both are sweet. Pulling teeth is like cycling because, oh my gosh, it's just annoying. You have to like get it right. And it's meeting your soulmate is like eating shellfish because, hey, how often do you wash the car is like an elephant because it's so hard to see where the dirty place is before you get it to the other one. Waiting for Wi-Fi is like flossing because it's just annoying as heck to get it right. All right, so here you can see it. These are the prompts. Although I don't know where my score is right now. Let's see. Oh yeah, so I was able to tie 5 random analogies here, but again, I cheated the system because it wasn't really coherent, the entire statement. But this is basically a fun way to practice. So let me pause here and see if you guys have any questions. Christy, do you want to try the metaphor mania?
Sure, I can try. Not sure if
Perfect.
it'll record me, but I can try it.
Okay, I'm gonna do one thing here. Let me disconnect my AirPods and see if that works.
Okay.
All right, Christy, let's start.
Changing diapers is like bathing because it's dirty and filthy. A rubber duck is like playing video game because it's squeaky and loud. Lighting a fire is like having a crush because it's flames. And speeding ticket is like an astronaut because it's playing house just like this. Oh wow.
No,
So
it's
I got 5. Is that what they're saying? 5 prompts.
yeah, no, it's fun, and when you start doing it, it's actually really interesting. And again, like they said here, the metaphor mania is for lateral thinking, for synthesis, agility. Spinning yard is for articulation, structure. So before we end this, does anyone want to try any of these? Someone who hasn't participated yet. All right, so then let me And so again, this one, we can, if the audio is fixed, you can even use it as part of the table topics. At, you know, club meetings, it's fun, especially the Spin a Yard. It's almost like a table topics, and it can definitely be used at your club meetings. You don't have as many speeches, prepared speeches, you can use this. All right, so then the other thing that Yoodli is helpful for, and like I mentioned, is, well, the feedback and then the Zoom. Maybe Edmond, let me put it here. Let me end here and then give you back, and then we'll talk about the interviews after later.
Sure. Okay, so before we do that, just I showed you a demo of the main feature of Yoodli, which is to record your speech and analyze it. And I just wanted to see what questions you have with regards to that. Yes, Christy, you have your hand up?
Yes, first,
Oh,
thank you, Edmund, in the chat for such a wonderful demo of the Yoodli. It seems like I think it's going to be very beneficial for many of us Toastmaster members who are looking to improve our speech. I did participate in I think it was a club level info session about this new product that we have with the creators of this product. But one of the questions I have, and I think it was addressed during that meeting as well, is how are these videos and audios stored or archived? And just speaking in terms of confidentiality and
Sure.
that type of nature. So,
Sure. Nejat, do you want to take that one?
Sure, feel free to add more, Edmund.
Yes.
But from what Yoodli said, everything that you share in Yoodli is private. And some of the data, because this is an AI and it's learning your way of speaking to give a speech, they might be used to train the system. But again, only the, it's like only the engineers who are like working with the AIs and in specific cases would have access. But otherwise, everything that you have is stored there. Everything that you share and everything that you have recorded in Yoodli is yours. And when you delete it, it's deleted forever.
The best analogy was Grammarly, right? So if those of you who use Grammarly just to correct your emails as right before you go out, it's the same type of thing where it's looking for areas to recommend changes to what you already have, and the content is only used to help the system learn of what to do and what not to do. What other questions do you have about Yoodli?
One question I have, Edmund and Nejat, is one of the things that I've seen, and in fact, I see it for this meeting as well. Someone will join a meeting, and for example, it says in chat, Saya is using Yoodli to get AI-powered insights on their communication skills. Try it out for free, blah, blah, blah. What does that mean? Does that mean that that person coming in is recording the session? What exactly does that mean?
Okay, Saya here, Paula. It is true. I just want to play it. So I clicked on that word. I put the URL for the Zoom meeting and I put it there and they say invited, but it's the robot or so AI. So it's good. It's not secret. I think I just saw it. It's like everybody know I'm playing. So, and I just play it and I open it up, just show exactly the recording we just had. And also the recording I had, it's give me say, hey, you know, you need to get 3% pulse. So give it analysis that the meeting, how it goes, or how it went. Yeah.
Saya, is it giving you live feedback?
Yeah.
Is it giving you live feedback right now?
Yeah, you give me feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, just feedback say 4 fillers, all right? And then
Mhm.
3%, try getting to 3% by posing instead. It gave me some analysis.
Yeah.
Right.
So Paula, to answer your question, anytime someone is using Yoodli to get feedback on their communication, they can do it one of two ways. One is just like what I did. I actually invited the bot and everyone can see that my Yoodli is joining the meeting. Even in this case, you get a notification saying Nejat is using Yoodli to get AI-powered insights. Use it. It's just for people to know what Yoodli is and for them to sign up if they want to. The other feature is, which I don't think we showed, is you can actually get live feedback on your communication. So here, when you join on Yoodli, you're gonna see one Yoodli for Zoom. I can go here and invite, which I've already invited and it's recording the meeting. It's gonna give me feedback afterwards. And if I want, I can set this up. And as I'm talking to you, it will actually give me feedback. It will tell me you're talking too fast, slow down, you have this many I and ums, you have used a non-inclusive word, whatever it is, the feedback, I'm gonna get it immediately as I'm talking to you. So, but in either case, whenever someone is using Yoodli to record the meeting or get feedback, yes, you're gonna get this message to everyone that shows that they are using AI.
And
So
it's
in
very
so in
analogous.
this case though, does it record only the person's voice who has enabled that, or is it recording everybody in the meeting?
So my Yoodli, for example, is recording everyone. The same with Saya, it's recording everyone, but the feedback is just tailored to her. Saya, it's not giving you feedback right now as I'm talking, right?
No, I already stopped recording a long time ago. I just gave it a try. And you are right. It's give the feedback for this meeting, so for everybody. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, so that means that I didn't say any single word. So the filler word was not from me, by the way.
Oh, I see. Actually, I want to show you because we've used Yoodli as a counter in one of my meetings at Leader Circle Toastmasters. And I want to show you, this was our meeting. It was an hour long. So as you can see, it was recorded. And here, it basically gave us insight for every person in the meeting. And that's why we use it as our counter. So here you can see if I put all speakers collectively as a club, we had 77 filler words, right? But then I can actually go to each speaker, and I'm just going to use my name now because I don't want to put everyone else there, but I had 8 repetitions and 13 filler words. So I contributed 13 to the 77 in total. So if you have the meeting is recorded, everyone's is recorded, and you get feedback for each and every person in the meeting. So in a sense, I think Edmond is going to talk about this more, but you can actually use it at a club meeting and it can be your counter. Like no one has to count the I and ums. You can, at the end of the meeting, share this insights with everyone and tell each and every person by name, hey, Dana, you had this many. Nejat, you had this many. So for each and every attendee, you can share that.
Right. One of the other features that Nejat had touched on is the ability to share what you had just recorded to other folks. Now I'm going to ask Michelle. Michelle, suppose that you had just won the Division International Speech Contest. Before Yoodli, would you agree with me that one of the possible techniques that you would do is to visit other clubs and practice your speech to get feedback? Is that a fair statement?
Oh, absolutely a fair statement.
Right. And before COVID, you would have to drive to different places to get feedback from different audience. With Yoodli, using that one recorded speech as your baseline, if you will, Michelle could send an email to Tom, to Helen, to Karen, to Alex, to Gina, to Crystal, to James, to Jerry, to Jay, to Kathy, to Anna, to everybody, anybody that she wants to, for feedback. And everyone can provide feedback either and Michelle can select whether nobody sees other people's feedback or everyone can see everyone else's feedback. But once you hit that feedback, your video will stop right there and you can type it in. Once you hit enter, Michelle is going to know that she just got feedback. So it could be, don't look to the left, or don't look to the right, or look at the camera, or whatever that feedback is. Michelle's going to get it as soon as you hit the enter button from as many people as she wishes. And that is another feature of Yoodli that wasn't possible before Yoodli. And it potentially could save you, well, before COVID, the gas to do the traveling. But even with COVID, you can use that baseline of what you have to get feedback. And then it's up to you to determine whether you want to use that feedback or not. So that is another feature within Yoodli that could be used in a Toastmasters manner. Another way, as an example, is we have in our club, actually, a person tomorrow night is going to give her icebreaker speech, and she's going to use Yoodli. And instead of practicing her speech with me being on a Zoom call at 8 o'clock tonight, she's going to send me the file, and I can make comments on her icebreaker for tomorrow night. So that's just another option that you could use with Yoodli that is up until now has not been possible.
So I have a question on that then.
Yeah.
Once I receive that feedback,
Mhm.
I record my speech again using that feedback, right?
Uh-huh.
So you
Uh-huh.
can't change the recording that's there.
You can't change the recording. You can record it again, and then you can send another email out to other folks and say, can I get feedback?
Okay, thank you.
Tom looks like he has a question. I'm not sure if I'm accurate or not, but Tom, do you have a question?
Yeah, and I joined you all late, so you may have already answered it. But at a Toastmasters meeting, can anybody activate Yoodli, or does the host have to activate it to use it?
Anybody can. Even right now, you
I see
see
two
that
now
you
that
see
I asked
two.
the question.
And if all of us did it, I mean, you'll see multiple instances of the Yoodli bot. One of the things that Yoodli offers too is, whether or not you want to enable it or not, is that it can automatically join any calls that you are, any Zoom calls that you are about to enter. It will know. It will know by your calendar that is going to be a Zoom call. So you can enable it or disable it. And so.
Okay, very basic question. Where is Yoodli hosted?
Uninterrupted people.
It is hosted on secure.
Jersey Mike's turns money from subs.
I'm going to, okay, thank you. It is hosted on secure servers, much like Gmail and Yahoo.
Well, the more general question, is it an American software? Is it
It
a
is.
foreign owned?
It is American. The folks from Yoodli, there's 7 employees. They are all located in the Seattle, Washington area. The one thing that I learned from them is that it took them 1 year to develop the software. And for the folks that are in the software development business, that's a really short amount of time to develop it and also get the endorsement of Toastmasters. So Tom, one of the things that I made a mention, I think probably before you join, is that it is free to use. You just register, it doesn't cost you a cent at all. Anybody, and you don't need to have to be Toastmasters.
Okay, and one last question for you.
Yeah.
Is there, because they developed it with the expectation, I assume, that they're going to make a profit, is there an advanced Yoodli that we can purchase, or how do they make, how does Yoodli make money?
They currently have a $7 million, I'm not sure what the right word is. They have $7 million that came from Google and from Microsoft.
Right now, they're not making any money.
Now, right now, they're not making any money.
Yeah, they'll
They want people to
actually
use
tell
it.
you that. We've had a couple meetings now with their founders, and they'll tell you right up front, we're not making any money right now.
Yeah.
So does that mean that maybe in the near future, there may be a small fee that may be connected, I don't know, through the membership?
Probably they will charge money eventually in future.
So the thing is, like, there's the public Yoodli, and then Toastmasters has a separate agreement with them. So anyone who's a Toastmaster is right now getting access to it. And so from what the founder mentioned, yes, eventually the plan is to make a small amount of this monthly or some amount a fee, but it's not going to be the same for Toastmasters and non-Toastmasters because they do have an agreement with Toastmasters. So it might be highly subsidized amount when they start. Hey, Karen,
The other thing is Toastmasters has been very, very heavily involved in helping them work the bugs out of their product. So,
right.
You know, Toastmasters is giving them a big boost. First of all, they're providing a lot of club members who may already have the interest in using a program like Yoodli because of the nature of what we do. So Toastmasters is a natural fit for their product, but also we're helping them work out the kinks in the process. And there's been no talk of fees. I don't even want to speculate if and when that would happen. There's no talk whatsoever about fees. That might be down the road for them, but you know, as they develop their product, it might be like licenses, like Zoom, for example. You know, Zoom, there's a free version up to 40 minutes. But if you want more than 40 minutes at a time, you have to pay. And in our case for Toastmasters, for example, if you're part of the leadership in District 29, you have access to being able to use a certain, you know, District 29 has a certain number of Zoom licenses applied to it. So perhaps the same thing might work down the road for Yoodli, but there's been no formal discussions about that. I think we're a long ways off from that kind of discussion. They are clearly in the development phase still.
Thank you, Tom, for your questions. What other questions do you have? Alex, what kind of questions do you have about Yoodli?
Hi, good evening, everybody. For curiosity, this afternoon, I just use Yoodli to record my Area 32 speech. I recorded it and it's like rewrite my speech word for word. But some of the things the AI doesn't understand. When I say the greatest soccer Pele, AI doesn't indicate what, you know, it's just some word there and then it doesn't understand me. When I say cup code, it's a CUP. Cup code sound the same. So it just doesn't, but I really say, oh, I can get the comeback, like no filler words naturally because it's a practice speech. You try to avoid filler words. And it also identifies some weak words. What's the weak word? Some usually use all the time. I really, actually. In other words, something like that. So that's something I learned from that, you know. But it really reproduced my speech almost completely, but not exactly what I have written in my speech. And also I can share with you, like if my speech, I recorded it, and then there's a comment. So if I share with you, every one of you can provide comments on what I have spoken. during the speech. And one thing is because I didn't have the video, so when I record the speech, I just record the speech. I turn off the video. So you can hear only my speech. If you have time, I can share with you what I have. Let's see if I have.
So Alex, we've already
Yeah.
had that demo before,
time?
so we don't need to, you don't need to share
No,
it.
no, we don't have time for that now,
Okay.
Alex. But
Yeah,
thank
but
you very much.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. But one of the things that I also want to make sure that everyone knows is it does not replace an evaluator.
Right.
I think it's a great tool and it can give you a lot of information. Like Alex mentioned, it can tell you the weak words that you're using, the strong words that you're using, repeat words. It can tell you whether you're going too fast or too slow. It can tell you, is your speech monotone or not? But even if it's a wonderfully perfect speech, that doesn't mean that it meant something for the audience. And that's something that only an evaluator can do. In other words, a human evaluator is going to listen for a speech and think, well, did that person, did they serve the purpose that their speech was meant to serve? Did their speech move me? Was it funny? Was it sad? You know, those are the types of emotional things and the feedback that will never replace an evaluator with Toastmasters. So I think it is a great tool. It's a great practice tool. And really not just for Toastmasters. I mean, think about it for work. If you're looking for someone to give you a really good feedback on a work presentation that you're preparing, that would be a really good option. That's a real world possibility to use Yoodli other than just Toastmasters.
Yeah, no, thank you, Paula. I think even with the simple terms that we know, like repeat words, sometimes people might repeat a sentence to make it more impactful. And Yoodli is going to tell you have repetition, right?
Right.
Sometimes you might be coming closer to the camera because you're trying to convey a meaning, and it will tell you, hey, you're off you're not in the center. So to your point, there's a lot of feedback. I think it's going to be helpful when we do evaluation, when someone gets the feedback from Yoodli and we look at it and we say, actually, this one was okay. Like you repeated this term because the rule of 3 and you want to make it more impactful and you're intentionally repeating it. So it's really a cool tool to add, not to just completely replace Alex.
Or were you smiling? That's the other
Right.
interesting feature that tells you, you know, how was your facial expression? Sometimes we don't always pick up on those things when we're giving a speech because we're so concentrated on the content that we're not 100% sure of how it's being delivered and how it's being received.
Yeah, another really cool feature that it has, especially if you have a one-on-one, like a 2-person meeting, is it tells you how many times you ask questions versus how many times you spoke, which is really a good way to say, hey, you're asking questions, so great, you're engaging people. And so it tells you the percentage of questions you had during your entire meeting. And then the other thing, I don't know if maybe this is the right way to move to that, Edmond, if you're done, but I wanted to show how we can use it even outside of Toastmasters. And this is for interview preparation. So if you have an interview, and I want to share it here. So when you click here, you can either record a speech, you can interview, or a Zoom call. So if I do interview here, it's going to ask me general questions. So tell me about yourself. What do you want to leave why do you want to leave your current role? So you can start practicing, and I'm going to do it just for a second to see what it says. Let me turn the video off for now. Hi, my name is Nejat Abdurahman, and I am currently running a leadership development program at NBAC Academy. And the goal is that I would be using this skills that I have for the role that you mentioned. My biggest strength is that I'm a great listener. And again, I'm just gonna blurb so it can give me feedback because haven't even practiced for interview for many years, but it would be a really cool. So my biggest strength is that I'm a great listener. I'm always learning new concepts. And all right, let's see. Let's see the analysis. Oh, we have to save it first. All right, so 4 filler words, 4 weak words, and then it has, oh, this is the comment that we get from friends, but also it will give us feedback. And the cool thing about this feature, let me go back and I'll come back to this, is we can actually add, I think we can add questions here. Ask me AI follow up. So this is just in beta, but if I were to just practice on something and then the AI would generate a question based on my response. And I wish I had that video of Aisha. I would have shown you, but PM for marketing, for finance, if you're looking job for consulting, market sizing, case questions. So all of these are just for interview prep. All right. Any other questions? Edmond, is there anything to
I was
add?
going to say that we have a lot of folks trying out the Yoodli bot. I can see that.
Yeah.
But Nejat, let's stop your recording and so that everyone can see what it was recording in your Yoodli bot.
Okay.
Let me, okay, thank you. While we're waiting, Karen, did you have any questions about Yoodli?
I
No,
think by now everyone has tried it, right? Oops, go ahead.
Oh,
Go
hold
ahead,
on.
Corey.
Karen?
Oh, no, I was just, Paula said what I was going to ask about because I was comparing the situation with Zoom 2 or 3 years ago. Zoom was
Yeah.
free and
Yeah.
then everybody got, had to start
Mhm.
teleworking and if you go over 40 minutes, they charge you. And I went ahead from the jump and got a Zoom account anyway, because you never know, from a family that loves to talk. So we can't do 40 minutes. There's no way around it. But I hope Yoodli does kind of take off. It may be a blessing and a curse. Who knows? I mean, it's nice because it's free, but then when they start getting popular, it's like with Microsoft Word. You gotta pay. They're gonna charge you for it. So and just enjoy it while it's free. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Karen. Gina, did you have any questions?
No, I'm really impressed. I'm so glad I'm part of this because I definitely plan on using it.
Good.
I can see how, especially when you first start putting together a presentation, how valuable it will be.
Exactly. It's the one thing to note is it's non-judgmental, right? If you say it's going to say It's not me saying if I was evaluating Gina and said she didn't mean that I'm not going to count that, right? So it's nothing like that at all. It's going to count it, and you're simply going to use that data. You can use it or not use it. It's going to be up to you to make a decision of what to do.
Well, and I suspect it'll be a lot more accurate because I know that
Yes.
when I've been in evaluations, I've caught myself saying a filler word and the evaluator hasn't.
Right.
But this can take the pressure off of them to not have to be bothered with that and really focus on, were you smiling? Were your hand gestures consistent with your content and the higher value things, I think.
Right. I wanted to share a quick story with everyone. It was about a month ago, I think, where I had signed up at my club to give a speech. And I signed up, I think 2 days before, and I didn't have a topic yet. And someone did make a mention of Yoodli. So I figured, okay, that's the topic. I'm going to learn about it. I'm going to give that speech. And I knew that on the agenda that Nejat was the next speaker. But at that time, I had no idea what she was going to talk about. On the day of our meeting, about an hour and a half, roughly an hour and a half before the meeting, Nejat had posted in Facebook about Yoodli and how impressive it was. And then it occurred to me, and I don't know if it's happened to anybody here in our Zoom call, if back-to-back speakers at a club were going to talk about that very same topic without you conferring with one another. I know for me, it's never happened in my 20 years of being in Toastmasters, but it was happening that night with Nejat. Nejat was going to give a speech about Yoodli. I was going to give a speech about Yoodli. Thank goodness I was first. And I had no idea. I still did have no idea what Nejat was going to talk about. So in my speech, I spoke about here is how you use it, and here are the features that result. I mean, remember we talked about content and delivery. So talk about what content, ahs, and repeated words and things like that, and how fast was I'm talking. So Nejat's speech was about, well, do we need humans? Right. And so Nejat, I mean, I was very thankful that her speech was very different than mine, but it's about the same topic. But it goes along the lines of something that Paula said. Yoodli's not going to know if you're funny. It's not going to know if your speech was sad. It's not going to show emotion. There's certain parameters around it, and it's going to be very non-judgmental. It's going to be very neutral. And so it's a tool that could help you.
And like Jay mentioned in the chat, there is something to be said for impartiality. And I like the fact that Jay said, I like the fact that this tool is impartial. It can tell me when I mess up without worrying about my feelings. So when an evaluator gives you an evaluation, depending on the tone of voice that an evaluator uses, an evaluator can either make you feel like, okay, I learned something new, or an evaluator can really make you feel pretty crappy if they really want to, okay? It can be very critical of you. But using this as an AI tool, it's very impartial because it's, as they used to say, just the facts, ma'am, just the facts. It's just telling you what you're doing. It's not giving its opinion about how it was perceived. And of course, when you're being evaluated, sometimes it's hard for an evaluator to be impartial, or sometimes it's hard for an evaluator not to kind of impose their own opinion on things. So this is just a tool. It's not something that's going to replace an evaluator, or it's not going to be something that you're going to use all the time. But it is a great tool, and it certainly makes sense for the founders to have gotten in with Toastmasters, because this is obviously a good tool for us. And as I understand it, in other districts, and when you're talking about high-level competition, they've been using this program longer than what we've really been exposed to it in District 29. We're just kind of getting exposed to it here. But in other districts, they've used it. And also, they've been working with a lot of the big winners, past winners of the International Speech Contest at Toastmasters. I know several of them serve on an advisory board. Richard Peck of Toastmasters serves on their advisory board. So they're getting a lot of good feedback from high-level speakers, as well as feedback of, how can what I call a regular member use it, because not all of us are international speech winners. So how is it that each of us can use Yoodli as a tool? So I think that they're getting good feedback from a variety of Toastmasters on how to make their product better.
Thanks, Paul. Nejat?
No, I was just
Oh, we
gonna
want to show
ask
the what
now.
you had, right?
No, I wanted to ask, has everyone in the meeting has tried Yoodli by now, right? I think, okay, yeah, because I see most of people. Great. Edmond, I don't have anything to add. I think it did show the
Sure. Did you want to show what
interview.
was recorded?
Sure, I
from
can
your bot?
do that. Oh, wait. Edmond, do you see my screen?
I do.
Okay. Oh, I shared the desktop. Hold on. Here, so this is the recording, and I have here Paula, but I can put everyone. And you will see that we have 96, 30, okay, 17 like. And in terms of top keywords, right? 1, C in speech. And then we have about 173 repetition. Oh, we have 3 non-inclusive words. I wonder what those are. Oh, guys and folks. And then we have some weak words. Wow, a lot of them. I'm sure half of, well, about 75% is probably me. And yeah, you can see the transcript here. And if I play the video, I think it only shows the speaker, but yeah, it's going to show the speaker primarily because, yeah. And eventually, right now it is not, but there's this really cool feature where it actually asks you questions. So I want to show maybe a recording that I had previously here. Because it will actually ask you to because I personally have found that feature to be very helpful because it will, this is suggestion and how many filler words I had, but also it will ask me questions like a follow-up question to my summary of my speech, which is something great. I don't know if maybe it's removed or somewhere else now, but let me see. All right, I'm going to stop now, but as you explore Yoodli on your own, you'll see that when you record a speech, it actually is going to give you a summary of what you said and then a follow-up question. Something that a listener might ask. So it would say, oh, you described this, but what are the 4 things that you mentioned? And so if you said 4, it will say, oh, how else can you describe it? Or what were the other aspects of it, which is a really cool feature that you will find.
Well, at this point, if we don't have any other questions, I would like to thank Nejat and Edmond very much for sharing their knowledge as ambassadors for Yoodli and just introducing us to some of these new things. They may not be things that we want to do immediately, but it's just fun to learn something new. And perhaps down the road, you'll find an application that Yoodli might be helpful for you. So I really appreciate their knowledge and their information. And of course, if you have any other questions later on down the road, you can always reach out to Edmond, myself, or Nejat. One of us will know the answer and be able to get back to you. But thank you all for coming tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe, Edmond. Thank you, Najat. Thank you, Paula.
Thank